Good afternoon, everyone. We've come at last to Maundy Thursday, and this evening I'll be celebrating the evening Mass of the Lord's Supper, which commemorates, of course, the Last Supper of our Lord with his disciples before he entered into his Passion. The Last Supper marks a turning point in our Lord's life because it's the end of his public life. And what a life it had been. For 3 years he travelled round the towns and villages of Palestine, working miracles, healing the sick, raising the dead to life. I'd like you to think for just a moment about the very first of our Lord's miracles. It happened at the little town of Cana in Galilee, when our Lord was invited with his disciples to a wedding feast. When he got there, it was discovered that all the wine which had been bought in for the feast had run out. And his mother approached him to help out in this terrible situation, this embarrassing situation. He turned to her and he said some famous words, "Woman, my hour has not yet come." But nevertheless, he then worked the first of his miracles. He transformed great quantities, 180 gallons of water, into wine. And not just wine, but the very best of wine, a wonderful wine. It was created, of course, for people who by then were too drunk, really, because they'd drunk the place dry, to even know the difference. But fortunately the steward was there, and he was able to say those words which turned out to be prophetic. "You have saved the best till last." If we move forward from the first of our Lord's miracles to today, Maundy Thursday, we'll see that there was another miracle that was performed. It was the miracle that was performed at the Last Supper. And in many ways it was a similar kind of miracle, because once again it was a miracle of transformation. A miracle of transformation of a quite ordinary thing into the most extraordinary thing. Our Lord took bread and wine, very basic, staple things. And he said, "This bread is now my body, this wine is my blood." It's a wonderful moment, a moment which outshines by far and away the first miracle at Cana in Galilee. The ordinary stuff of this world is turned into the stuff of heaven. Unlike at Cana in Galilee, our Lord's hour had now come. The generosity of Cana in Galilee is as nothing compared to the generosity of our Lord when he creates the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist on Maundy Thursday. On Maundy Thursday, he creates something which will feed the whole world forever until the end of time. And the wonderfulness of the wine that our Lord created on the Cana of Galilee occasion was as nothing compared to the magnificence of his body, blood, soul and divinity made present for us in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. There's one thing that is very similar though. At Cana in Galilee, the miracle was worked for people who could hardly appreciate it. And the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist is given to people like us, who very often take it for granted and hardly appreciate what a wonderful thing it is. This year in particular, of course, we're not able, for the most part, to go to Holy Communion. We're restricted to making spiritual communions. And perhaps in a new way, and maybe for the first time for a long time, we are having a renewed appreciation of what it is that is contained in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. Our appreciations being renewed by the fact that we can't actually go to it, we can't actually receive it. But when our Lord comes to us in Holy Communion, the most wonderful thing happens. It is not just that he takes up his home in us, poor sinners as we are. It's that he becomes part of us and we become part of him. That's what Holy Communion means. We are bound up with him in the most intimate way possible this side of heaven. During these weeks when we can't go to Holy Communion, perhaps a hunger and a thirst for our Lord is growing in our hearts. And if so, that's a wonderful thing. In the end, when all this is over, we will be able to receive him in Holy Communion once again. And please God, we will never take it for granted again. Thank you very much, and God bless you.